Welcome back. Okay, so some news of the day, mostly injury-related stuff for today. Mostly. So we'll start off with that. Nikita Kucherov apparently cleared to play tonight, so he's back. Now, interestingly enough, Stamkos is questionable for tonight. He'll be a game-time decision. So, yeah, Tampa Bay, Kucherov comes back. No shenanigans while he was out. They didn't add a bunch of money. They didn't pick up, a $10 million guy or anything like that. They're still under the cap. It's kind of boring this year, isn't it? So yeah, Kucherov comes back to play tonight, which is not good news for Flames fans, of course, or for the Flames or all that. And if Stamkos doesn't play, I mean that hurts Tampa certainly. However, Kucherov's already shown when he comes back from injury, he's pretty darn good. So we'll see whether or not he picks up where he left off in last year's playoffs or what happens. But yeah, Kucherov back in the lineup tonight for Tampa. I think he'll be fine. Yeah, I don't think it'll take him long to get up to speed at all. Also, New Jersey, Nico Hischier. I'm sure Nico Hischier is still dealing with pain and whatnot, but he's going to play tonight. So Hischier, this might be one of the reasons why they gave him the captaincy. So being able to play through pain is a very hockey player thing to do, and Hischier's doing it. So hopefully Hischier's able to avoid any kind of aggravation of said injury or anything. And I'm also hoping he's not pushing himself to come back before he's necessarily ready. Hockey players sometimes do that as well. So yeah, all the best to Hischier, and we'll see what happens. So with the San Jose Sharks, and their reason for being on the board and me wearing their jersey and all. Adin Hill's getting the start tonight. I like Adin Hill. He hasn't had a great start to the season though. So hopefully he has a good game tonight. Reimer's out with a lower body injury. And it makes me wonder, so has he been dealing with a lower body injury? Is that why his last two games have been not great by Reimer standards? But at any rate, that means that Sawchenko will be the backup. He looked pretty good in relief the other night. So if Adin Hill has any problems, Sawchenko can go in there. They're also going to be without Erik Karlsson and Jacob Middleton. Upper body injuries for both of them. So it's a lower body injury for Reimer, and it's an upper body injury for both Karlsson and Middleton. And so that hurts the blue line a lot. But for the Sharks, they're used to guys going in, going out of the lineup, and all of this stuff. They've been going through it for months. So what's another night of guys being out of the lineup, this time for injury reasons? So Boston will also be dealing with an injury of Charlie McAvoy being out tonight, lower body injury. That really hurts. McAvoy is the key guy on their blue line. With McAvoy out, it means somebody else is going to have to step up. So we'll see if maybe Grzelcyk steps up or what happens. But they're against a Minnesota team tonight that should be pretty both angry and hungry and all that. And I mean, that's hangry, I guess. That's a weird word, though. Anyways, but yeah, so McAvoy out tonight with a lower body injury. Hopefully it's not something that's going to be day-to-day that becomes week-to-week. Tuukka Rask has signed a professional tryout with the Providence Bruins. So he's not signing the Boston contract just yet. I'm pretty sure he needs to sign it before the trade deadline to actually play in the playoffs. However, the trade deadline's still quite a ways off. So Rask taking it easy. They're gradually bringing him back. He signs with Providence, which again shows he's not even thinking about any other organization. He will only come back to play for Boston. So while there are other teams looking for goaltenders, and I'd have to say, in the event that Rask comes in, maybe the Oilers would be in on Ullmark. Maybe that's a place where that could happen. There'd be some cap problems with that, absolutely, but maybe that's what we end up seeing. So yeah, tryout then for Rask, and we'll see how that goes for him in Providence. Now, the Olympic team news, of course, of the NHL pulling out of the Olympics is one thing that people were not all that happy with and disappointed, and I'm disappointed too. It's great to see players go to the Olympics and play and all that. I don't know how much I was looking forward to being, up and watching games in the middle of the night if that's when they were scheduled, which is likely. But hey, things happen. But yeah, so now that the NHL's not going, some of the junior age guys are looking at going, including Owen Power. Owen Power very likely to end up playing for Team Canada. Mason McTavish very likely to end up playing for Team Canada. So that could be an interesting wrinkle in the whole thing, and it could be a great stage for these kids to go over and play. And to me, and again, I get the want for best on best at the tournament. I still feel like the Olympics are kind of designed for the junior age kids more than for for the older players. But we'll see who ends up being on Team Canada and the other international teams as well. I do think that the stage has been set for the Russians to end up winning the gold. I really do. I like their chances a lot with the NHL pulling out of it as they did. So we'll see with Power how he does. And either, whether they win or they lose, it's about getting that experience. And so junior age kids going over to get that experience, I think it could be good. Especially after the World Junior Championship being, canceled on them. Just suddenly we're going and then we're not, right? So that could be great for him. So Dave Tippett, who is in the news a lot right now, and it does feel familiar to a Canuck fan that coach is in the news a lot. So he called out Koskinen, and Koskinen made it clear that while his feelings weren't hurt by the comments, doesn't mean he's happy with the comments, stating that, the way that it goes, it's going to be the coach, the goaltender that gets blamed. So, I'm going to get blamed. And he gets that. But Tippett saying his comments were taken out of context, and all he kind of meant was they needed to get off to a good start, and they needed to not be behind 5 minutes into the game. And I don't know how much better those comments made it sound. Darren Dreger asked about whether or not, there was talk of firing him within the Edmonton organization. There isn't. At this point, despite the slide that the Edmonton Oilers have been on, there's no talk of firing the coach yet. That can change fast, as we saw in Vancouver. That can change fast, as we saw in Philadelphia. It really doesn't take that much, especially when you look at where the Oilers are in the standings. So they're currently the number 2 wild card. The number 1 wild card is actually Minnesota, with Minnesota trying to jump back past Colorado or somebody as the Central becomes this mess with the top 4. So the Oilers are 1 point ahead of Winnipeg, but Winnipeg has 2 games in hand. So Edmonton's played 2 more games than Winnipeg. The LA Kings are 1 point behind the Oilers. They have a game in hand on the Oilers as well. And the Oilers are 3 points ahead of both San Jose and Vancouver, who don't have games in hand, but also they haven't played, like the Oilers haven't played more games, those teams haven't played more games. They've played the same number of 34. So if the Oilers are going to make a change, we're getting to that point where it's going to become more urgent. And I would think that if they fall below the playoff line, that's when it happens. That if the Edmonton Oilers end up falling below Winnipeg, and Winnipeg could do it tonight, Winnipeg's in against Colorado, LA's in again at home against the Nashville Predators. I really should watch my own preview videos, and then I'd know all this, right? So both Winnipeg and LA could push Edmonton below the playoff line tonight. So if we are waking up tomorrow to a world where both LA and Winnipeg have passed the Oilers, that's going to crank up the heat. So management will always say they're not going to fire the coach until they do. And so we'll see what happens. But for the Oilers, it really feels like things have turned very quickly against this team. I'm trying to remember a time when this last happened. And the first that comes to mind for me is Buffalo. Got off to a really, really good start, and then it fell apart on them. So we'll see. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Your one prediction I'd like to hear is, how many more games could the Oilers lose before they'd be forced to make a change? Or would them being below the playoff line mean they make a change? I've seen rumors about how they'd go out and get Fleury, one of the goalies out of Boston. Maybe they'd pick up Hudobin, whoever, but it will be interesting to see what they end up doing. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.